1 minute ago, Diddy screams after Katt Williams testifies in court. Full on Diddy's vault destroyed on record, under sworn testimony and backed by multiple sealed affidavits. Comedian Katt Williams emerged in a federal courtroom as the unlikely yet precise detonator of what prosecutors are now calling the largest celebrity exploitation ring in modern entertainment history. The accused at the center, Sean "Diddy" Combs. The names appearing in parallel subpoenas: Jay-Z, Tyler Perry, Kevin Hart, Steve Harvey, T.D. Jakes, Ricky Smiley, LeBron James, Ashton Kutcher, and Justin Bieber. The government's evidence includes over 140 NDAs tied to private events hosted by Combs between 2008 and 2023, nearly 17 terabytes of video footage retrieved from encrypted servers located in 4 different countries, and forensic confirmation of spyware-equipped hidden cameras installed in 3 of Combs' properties. All point to an alleged pattern, leveraging celebrity access, coercing compliance, and manufacturing blackmail through illicit recordings. Katt Williams, long dismissed by tabloids as unstable, entered the court, not as a performer, but as a witness. His testimony began without flourish. "Let me say this one time under oath and without any punchline." He was clear. "This is not new to me. I've been telling y'all for over a decade, but because I made people laugh, they forgot to listen." His claims stretched far beyond hearsay. Williams described a recurring system: A-list celebrities being invited to Combs' ultra-exclusive gatherings, surrendering their phones upon entry, signing NDAs, unaware they were being recorded. "They walked in clean," he said. "They left with something on them they couldn't scrub off." Williams named names. Not just Diddy, but also those who benefited Jay-Z, allegedly orchestrating press coverage for Combs-hosted events. Tyler Perry gaining early film distribution through Combs-linked financing networks. Kevin Hart attending multiple private parties, including a now-flagged 2013 event in Miami, with a gold room layout described identically in Cassie Ventura's prior testimony. According to Williams, Kevin Hart was not just a guest, he was a handler. He smiled distracted, made them feel safe. He was in the room but never caught in the footage. That's what handlers do. Documents entered into evidence support claims that Hart's career surge, from canceled sitcoms to billion-dollar franchises, aligns directly with Diddy-funded platforms. Netflix contracts, media appearances, radio deals, all allegedly trace back to contacts initiated through Combs' circle. But the allegations do not stop at Kevin Hart. Ricky Smiley's rise in television and radio, Williams said, was contingent upon his appearance in drag roles that were, according to Williams, used to mark compliance within the inner circle. "I put it in my contract." Williams testified that I wouldn't work with him unless he wore a dress, and he did. Then came Steve Harvey. Williams accused him of silent complicity and opportunism, going as far as to allege Harvey stole a show concept from him and used his daughter Lori Harvey's relationship with Diddy, even after she had dated Diddy's son Justin, as a transactional gesture. That's not a father. That's a man who's in too deep. T.D. Jakes, a revered figure in the religious community, was also named. Williams alleged the church was used to sanitize Combs' public image. Gospel concerts, donations, and staged prayers were part of what he called a holy filter designed to shield darkness under the guise of salvation. The courtroom fell into a stunned silence when Williams declared that several gospel artists were pressured into silence after witnessing inappropriate behavior at these events, and most damaging, that T.D. Jakes was made aware of a sexual misconduct case involving one of Combs' aides and chose to handle it internally. These weren't parties, Williams concluded. They were auditions, and the only role that mattered was obedience. He pointed to the pattern of accelerated success following such events. Comedians gaining Netflix specials without lead-up actors, jumping from bit roles to blockbusters, musicians whose songs played on rotation without label push, all after visiting Diddy's house. Prosecutors confirmed that multiple celebrities who previously downplayed such claims are now under federal review. Encrypted video logs, metadata, and satellite location data are being cross-referenced with guest lists, travel manifests, and financial records. Williams ended his first day of testimony with a direct warning to the press. This isn't about who's famous. This is about who's complicit. There's a vault, and everyone in it knows exactly why. The second day of testimony opened in breathless silence. Katt Williams, already a headline from the day prior, returned to the stand. His tone had not changed, controlled, measured. But what followed would mark a pivotal shift not only in the courtroom, but across an entire industry. Federal prosecutor Melissa Green wasted no time. Your Honor, Exhibit 17A is hereby entered into evidence. A digital drive was uploaded, the screen flickered, and then footage rolled. 27 seconds. No audio, no narration, just a quiet sweep of a lounge glittering with gold trim and mirrored glass walls alive with wealth and concealment. Dated July 13, 2013. Location Miami. Venue what insiders long whispered about the Gold Room. Cassie Ventura had described the same room in sealed civil court testimony 2 years earlier. Gold molding, lounge beds set into the floor, Murano glass chandeliers, cameras inside ceiling tiles and table corners. Now the court saw it for themselves. Williams pointed to a small mirrored square near a drink cart. There's one. Inside that, he said, they watched everything. The FBI's cyber unit had retrieved 43 encrypted videos tied to events hosted by Combs. Metadata confirmed their dates matched NDAs from known figures. The prosecution also noted that more than 60% of those present in those clips signed new contracts or closed high-dollar deals within a 180-day window. Among those whose faces were blurred but listed in sealed logs, a former BET host, 2 Atlantic Records signees, an unnamed NFL defensive back, and at least 1 current Emmy nominee. Social media detonated. Your Gold Room became the #1 global trend within 3 hours. Influencers speculated. Former collaborators dropped vague tweets. A documentary pitch deck reportedly landed in Netflix's inbox by 3:00 p.m. Meanwhile, Williams sat without flinching. Defense attorney Wallace Drake began his cross. You were never inside that room, Mr. Williams. Williams didn't blink. No, I wasn't. But I was supposed to be. He then outlined the approach: a call from a major executive, a verbal offer, an invitation to network differently. They didn't ask me to perform. They asked me to attend. He declined. Within months, 3 venues canceled his shows without explanation. Sponsors went silent. Tax documents were flagged for audit. It was surgical, he said. I didn't fall off. I was pushed. Next came the financial paper trail. Prosecutors introduced records from the Knightbridge Trust, a Cayman-based vehicle with direct ties to 3 Combs-fronted ventures. Between 2012 and 2016, it funneled over $110 million to 23 individuals, all attendees of Combs' private events. Bonuses, seed capital, film funding, even down payments on homes. Among recipients, a stand-up comedian with no agent or PR team who signed a 3-picture Netflix deal. A beauty influencer with under 10K followers suddenly backed by Revlon. A singer whose single, rejected by 2 labels, appeared on a Diddy-curated playlist a month after attending. Williams leaned in. It wasn't a ladder, it was an elevator. And Diddy held the button. Then came the moment that cracked the courtroom open. Prosecutor Green displayed a second video this time, from a 2014 Los Angeles event. This one wasn't grainy. It had audio. A conversation muffled but decipherable between 2 male voices, identifying leverage files. One says, "Put him in room C. Make sure Kev's with him. He trusts Kev." The prosecution confirmed through layered voice ID analysis that the speakers were Combs and an unnamed associate. The Kev in question, Williams stated plainly, was Kevin Hart. He repeated, "I'm not saying he hurt anyone. I'm saying he smiled while it happened." Inside the courtroom, the jury was motionless. The judge asked for a recess. In the hallway, press clashed to file live updates. A federal marshal requested additional security. Back in court, Williams resumed. "I never wanted this to go public. I gave interviews. Y'all called me crazy, but now you see, I was careful. I was calculated, and I kept receipts." He then turned to a pattern. Attendees would disappear for weeks, re-emerge with rebrands, new contracts, endorsements. It was ritual by design. Some came out richer. Some never came out at all. Asked if this was limited to music, Williams shook his head. Fashion, sports, film, religion. At that point, T.D. Jakes was introduced into the record. Williams stated that Combs' PR team used the church as a safe front, sponsoring gospel events, collaborating on community work, but silencing key voices through donations and political pressure. It wasn't prayer, he said. It was protection. He described one event, a private gospel gala in Atlanta, where artists were warned not to discuss a sexual harassment claim tied to a Diddy staffer. When asked how he knew, Williams answered, "Because one of them told me while crying." The judge allowed a 10-minute recess after a juror requested air. Returning, Williams shared one last revelation. A senior assistant at Bad Boy Entertainment had reached out to him in 2017, anonymously with a warning. A sample screenshot was submitted into evidence, an email, time-stamped and encrypted. Its subject line, "They record everything." The DOJ confirmed the address came from an internal device. Williams closed with a line that hit as hard as anything prior. "You think it's about sex and secrets, but it's really about silence and surveillance. Hollywood isn't broken, it's engineered." As the court adjourned, a secondary federal task force was activated. Charges under investigation: witness intimidation, money laundering, and digital entrapment. By day 3, the courthouse was barricaded and humming with tension. National outlets dispatched senior correspondents. Former collaborators arrived incognito. Fans stood behind metal railings. Inside, what was about to be revealed went beyond scandal, it exposed design. The prosecution opened with its first protected witness. Known only as Witness Omega, his voice steady but distorted through a privacy system, he introduced himself as a former senior member of Sean Combs' personal security team. A decade of service, full access. "I wasn't just a bodyguard," he said. "I managed protocols, I monitored footage, I kept secrets. Until now." He began bluntly. "Nothing ever happened without being captured, and nothing was ever deleted." Omega described a system known internally as the Vault, a biometric access digital archive, located in a climate-controlled, triple-encrypted room inside a private Atlanta compound. According to him, it stored more than 230 terabytes of footage, categorized by event name, location date, and chillingly utility. Footage, he testified, came from covert devices, lenses built into ceiling lights, nightstands, chair backs, even champagne buckets. Every angle, every room, every time. Only 5 people had full access: Combs' 2 legal advisors, a lead publicist, and Omega himself. Once a month, they'd pull footage for assessment. If someone stepped out of line, footage was reviewed. Leverage was compiled, sometimes preemptively. He referenced folders labeled by code names, but matched to celebrity initials. There were senators, athletes, executives. One folder was just labeled Future Leverage. Court officials submitted Exhibit 47K, a partial access log from the vault, showing file titles linked to 19 NDAs signed between 2011 and 2017. Of those 19 signers, 13 received high-profile contracts within 6 months of their respective events. Green asked Omega if Cassie Ventura was logged in the system. At least 13 times he confirmed, sometimes as guest, sometimes not, but always recorded. The prosecution followed with Email Exhibit 88B, a 2015 internal exchange, between Combs' executive assistant and a brand strategist. Subject line, Cassie Fallout Protocol. One sentence stood out, have contingency footage ready in case she breaks. Omega translated, it meant, if she ever spoke out, they had material to smear her, just like they did with two others who tried. The room fell silent. Next came Witness Delta, a former logistics coordinator embedded full-time in Combs' event planning team. Delta explained her role, organizing entry protocols, coordinating handlers, reviewing post-event debriefs. She described a disturbing standard guests arrived within a blackout window of 10 minutes. Phones were surrendered at the door. Alcohol was pre-mixed and poured on entry. Rooms were arranged with conversation flow points, preset locations for guests to be directed, filmed, and engaged. Handlers were central. They were friendly faces, trusted names. Their job was to normalize, to redirect, to calm. She referenced a report from 2014 labeling Kevin Hart as handler present. New talent onboarded successfully. The court reviewed an internal event checklist from a 2016 Hamptons gathering. Items included surveillance lens, wipe-down schedule, guest-to-handler pairing, phone scan, confirmation post-event, NDA verification scores, AVG 92%. Williams listened quietly during this testimony, occasionally nodding. When asked what would happen if a guest resisted NDA signing, Delta replied, they didn't come back. Or they came back differently. Back outside, media exploded. Like the vault trended globally. Several retired security contractors posted anonymous testimonials, corroborating similar practices. One wrote, what you think is paranoia, that's policy. Then came Cassie Ventura. Her testimony, broadcast live, via encrypted satellite, was calm, precise, and quietly devastating. I didn't speak because I was afraid, she said, and I didn't leave because I thought fear was safer than the alternative. She recounted the gold room configuration in painful detail. She recalled being handed wardrobe options upon arrival. Drinks were pre-made with no explanation, no refusal options. She described multiple events where female guests were escorted by known industry names into back rooms without explanation. One such name, she said, was Justin Bieber. He looked confused, young. He didn't know what the room was. Green asked if she had ever attempted to leave. In 2017, I sent an email to legal requesting my NDA be voided. It was forwarded without my consent to Combs' PR agency. I got flowers the next day, no note, just a reminder. Court admitted that email. Metadata confirmed its routing path and timestamp. Cassie's closing line echoed across every media platform that night. Fame is not freedom, it's just a prettier prison. Inside the courtroom, Diddy's legal team fell quiet. Not a single objection. 3 jurors requested counseling breaks. One court officer reportedly left the room in tears. Federal agents launched a secondary forensic review of the Vault data center. Prosecutors confirmed they would begin tracing payments from offshore entities allegedly tied to post-event compliance bonuses. With the Vault now exposed and internal procedures laid bare, the trial began to widen its scope, reaching far beyond Diddy himself. Day 4 began with paperwork, not just stacks, but boxes. Federal agents wheeled in sealed crates, bearing audit stamps from the Department of Treasury, IRS, Criminal Investigation Division, and the Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC. This was no longer just a matter of privacy violations. The United States government was alleging financial crimes at the highest levels of entertainment power. Lead forensic accountant Maya Bledsoe took the stand first. A quiet but unflinching expert, she had traced the flow of money through no fewer than 17 shell corporations, 6 offshore accounts, and 3 faith-based nonprofits linked directly to Sean Combs and his partners. Every transaction leaves a shadow, she began. These didn't just hide assets, they funded silence. Exhibit 103A displayed a wire transfer of $2.7 million from a Belize-based entity to a Los Angeles private trust. Attached to that transaction was a consulting memo for image rehabilitation. The recipient, a D-list actor who months later landed a lead role in a Diddy-funded streaming series. His NDA was time-stamped 2 days before the transfer. One by one, Bledsoe walked the court through financial routes labeled post-engagement support talent conditioning and the most common phrase, platform alignment. Most payments occurred within 30 to 90 days after high-profile gatherings. All led back to Combs' network of influence. Then came the pivot record labels. Prosecutors submitted a ledger marked Artist Tier B, uplift phase detailing payments routed through major label imprints, funneled from shell companies operated under Knightbridge Trust. Among the names on that sheet were 3 current chart toppers, 2 Grammy nominees, and 1 global fashion ambassador. Green paused, then displayed Signature Exhibit 122G, a contract signed by a current CEO of a major music group still employed, co-signing a $4 million talent development grant, tied to a Combs-affiliated entity. The funds were never declared to shareholders. When asked about these practices, Bledsoe stated plainly, these weren't bonuses, they were buy-ins. The courtroom turned again when prosecutors introduced witness Echo, a former label executive turned whistleblower. Echo, speaking under partial anonymity, claimed they were instructed not only to fast-track artists who attended certain private events, but also to suppress dissent. We'd get memos saying, this artist is aligned, prioritize their rollout. Or worse, this artist is at risk, freeze exposure. That wasn't marketing, that was compliance control. Echo confirmed that senior label heads were aware of Diddy's operations and often benefited. Some, he said, even attended the Gold Room events. I was there, I saw them. Next came data from a 2021 internal email thread titled Risk Mapping. The thread included flagged names, both cooperative and non-compliant, with color codes ranging from green clear to red volatile. Several now deceased artists appeared in red. The implication was chilling, non-cooperation came with cost. A second email from a streaming platform executive read, "We're boosting aligned voices. We don't want unpredictable talent this quarter." Attached was a music release schedule showing significant placement shifts after Diddy hosted events. At this point, public attention turned toward accountability. The Securities and Exchange Commission issued a statement, confirming it had launched parallel investigations into multiple public companies named in court. Stock prices of 2 major labels dipped 6% within hours. Meanwhile, former managers and A&R reps began speaking anonymously to outlets. One quote stood out, "I didn't know what I was helping. I just knew to keep my mouth shut and keep the checks coming." In court, Prosecutor Green connected the dots to T.D. Jakes' organization. 3 separate 501c3 entities linked to his ministry had received unexplained 6-figure donations within 2 months of named parties. One donation marked as community upliftment was directly tied to an event Cassie Ventura later identified as containing misconduct. Cassie's legal team confirmed she never received support or follow-up from any affiliated faith group, despite their public statements. The optics were shifting fast. Diddy's legal team countered with claims of defamation framing all connections as coincidental philanthropy, but the court remained unconvinced. When Green displayed a private memo from a media executive titled Damage Neutralization Plan, listing which reporters to pay off and which narratives to bury, audible gasps erupted. The document included a rate card, print 10K, digital 7K, YouTube influencer suppression 12K. One journalist was marked paid, keep warm. Before the day closed, Green made a final move. She submitted a subpoena request for 2 current label presidents and 1 former news editor-in-chief. The motion was granted. Outside the court, protesters gathered. But this time, signs no longer bore names. They bore industries. Accountability in entertainment, Labels knew. Privacy is not a price. By the end of day 4, federal agencies had executed 5 new search warrants, frozen 3 bank accounts, and formally requested cooperation from 5 international financial regulators. What happened to those who tried to leave, who dared to speak, and those who simply knew too much? Day 5 of testimony shifted from money trails to human cost. This was no longer about platforms, labels, or image laundering. It was about people, those who spoke up, those who vanished, and those who lived with the burden of knowing too much. The courtroom lights were dimmed for privacy as witness Sigma was brought in. A former entertainment lawyer, Sigma had worked with multiple artists now under federal review. He began with one sentence that hung in the room like smoke. The price of silence is money. The price of truth is exile. He confirmed that over a dozen clients had signed NDAs, not for protection but for suppression. These were not standard confidentiality clauses. They included morality clauses, behavior monitoring, even relocation provisions. Sigma referenced a clause titled Residual Compliance, requiring talent to avoid public commentary on certain producers, even years after contracts ended. They weren't contracts, they were muzzles. He detailed the case of a mid-level R&B singer who withdrew from a tour after refusing to attend a private retreat in Turks and Caicos. Within 72 hours, her media coverage disappeared. Bookings stopped. Spotify algorithm placement plummeted. Sigma confirmed that a deprioritization memo was sent to at least 3 distributors. Then came Witness Alpha. A quiet man in a gray suit, Alpha had worked security not for Combs, but for one of his rivals. He testified to knowing of 2 individuals, both in the music industry, who were approached by Combs' team with buyout offers in exchange for silence. One accepted, the other died under circumstances listed as accidental overdose within 6 months. I can't say they were murdered, Alpha said, but I can say they were warned. He described surveillance tactics used on those considered flight risks. Burner phones, drone tailing, even temporary infiltration into assistance circles. There was always someone watching. Sometimes it wasn't clear for who. At this point, the court allowed the inclusion of 2 new depositions from previously unreachable witnesses. The first was from a retired producer now living overseas. He spoke via pre-recorded video. They showed me footage once, said it was a mistake, told me if I ever leaked what I saw, they'd make sure the mistake was mine. The second deposition came from a woman identified only as E. She had worked as an event assistant for 5 years. Her voice trembled. I saw women leave rooms crying. I saw artists escorted to back rooms who came out changed. I heard someone say, "We just need one good frame," like the camera was more important than the person. E's sworn statement included an email dated August 2016 titled Optics Protocol, detailing how handlers should redirect conversations, dismiss concerns, and if necessary frame whistleblowers as erratic. They didn't just silence people. They rehearsed how to discredit them. The jury sat in stunned silence as the prosecution introduced an interactive map, Exhibit 150L, showing digital movement of assets, media shifts, and artist disappearances overlaid across a 10-year span. Every red dot marked someone who had tried to exit the system. Many had vanished from the industry entirely. Katt Williams returned briefly to the stand. His message was direct. People say I'm brave. I'm not. I'm just not afraid to burn the bridge if I know there's fire on the other side. He acknowledged losing sponsorships, friends, security, but he stated he'd never go back. This isn't about careers, it's about souls. Then the moment that defined the day, Prosecutor Green revealed an audio recording from a private phone line intercepted with court authorization. In it, a voice believed to be Sean Combs said, "We don't fight back, we erase." The courtroom froze. Diddy'S defense immediately objected, but the judge allowed it. Outside global media erupted. TV networks cut in live. Celebrities issued cryptic posts. Industry insiders began purging past social media photos and deleting podcast episodes. By nightfall, 3 additional former collaborators publicly distanced themselves from Combs. One issued a statement, "I thought it was just parties." I was wrong. The DOJ confirmed the formation of a joint task force with Interpol to track overseas assets and alleged pressure networks. Anonymous sources suggested a sealed indictment was now in draft. The final day of testimony began under gray skies. The crowd outside had doubled. Barricades extended down the block. Satellite vans idled. Reporters whispered one-word indictments. Inside the courtroom, the energy was different. No theatrics, no delays, just inevitability. Prosecutor Melissa Green stepped forward. "Today we're not chasing conspiracy. We are concluding a criminal pattern. This was not an industry flaw. This was an industry model." She presented the court's final 3 witnesses. Each represented a layer of the machine. First, a former label compliance officer. She confirmed internal memos assigning narrative compliance tiers to artists based on perceived loyalty. Her testimony included a document showing artists marked in green received 4 stacks, the budget allocation of those marked in red. Second, a former financial auditor for a streaming platform. He testified that back-end algorithms were manually adjusted to boost aligned creators and quietly mute those flagged by external reputation risk reports. Last, a marketing executive who had coordinated dozens of public apologies for celebrities, some, she admitted, written in advance. Redemption was pre-scripted. All they had to do was obey. The court then reviewed its final evidence vault footage excerpts from 3 events spanning 2013 to 2019. Faces redacted, voices blurred, but the rhythm was unmistakable: arrival conditioning leverage reward. Green closed with a single statement. This wasn't about fame, it was about control. The jury recessed. For 4 hours, the courthouse held its breath. At 4:42 p.m., they returned. The 4-person stood. "We, the jury, find sufficient cause to advance criminal charges, including conspiracy, coercion, wire fraud, and obstruction." The room did not erupt. It exhaled. A federal grand jury was scheduled within 10 business days. Outside reaction was swift. The New York Times ran a headline system on trial system exposed. The Hollywood Reporter issued a midnight bulletin: multiple agencies prepare coordinated charges. On social media, a new phrase trended: the vault breaks. More than a dozen current and former celebrities began scrubbing past affiliations. Some issued apologies. Others deleted everything. In a late-night statement, the Department of Justice confirmed a multi-agency investigation would continue. This is not the end. This is the opening of accountability. And then came the surprise. At 10:06 p.m., Sean "Diddy" Combs released a pre-recorded video. No music. No defense. Just a single line. "Some things are bigger than me. But not everything you've heard is the truth." He offered no apology, no admission, no denial. The message ended in static. By morning, Diddy's legal team announced his indefinite withdrawal from all business ventures pending legal resolution. Meanwhile, Katt Williams released no statement, no interview, just a single tweet. "They heard me. That's enough." In court records, one final exhibit was sealed, its title, "Known Unknowns." It reportedly contains additional names, events, and footage under further federal protection. A judge ordered its contents secured until the grand jury convenes. As media outlets dissect the case, one question remains: can an entire ecosystem built on silence survive the sound of one voice refusing to be quiet? The vault was opened. Now, the world is watching what pours out.